Hello everyone and welcome to today's conspiracy theory, where today we are going to be looking into the show Hey Arnold, and we are going to try and figure out the whereabouts of Arnold's parents. If you've never heard of the show or know what goes on in Hey Arnold, basically the show is about a boy named Arnold who lives in an urban area living with his grandparents Phil and Gertie, as well as meeting up with his friends in the show. A show that has a pretty basic storyline to it. But one issue that had fans really confused was the whereabouts of Arnold's parents. Because throughout the show, you see that Arnold lives with his grandparents. And the creator of the show, Craig Bartlett, was very vague about Arnold's parents when he pitched the idea to Nickelodeon, saying that they were wandering around Africa making wildlife documentaries or something along those lines. Due to the amount of children that were writing into the show asking where Arnold's parents were, Craig Bartlett then wrote the episode Parents' Day. This took 5 seasons just to get to that episode and to give some form of answer about Arnold's parents. In the episode you find out that Arnold's parents go on a humanitarian mission to the jungle, of which we never hear of them again. It is assumed that whilst they were on their way to the jungle, their plane crashed. Although you wouldn't necessarily put that sort of information into a children's show for many reasons. One, you don't want to be scarring any children, and two, I'm pretty sure that you're going to be getting a lot of angry complaints off many parents. However, Craig Bartlett purposely left out their disappearance in the open, since the plane was not actually found. So the episode ends with Arnold coming to the conclusion that his grandparents are more than capable to be his actual parents in this sort of scenario. And you could say that it was a very happy ending to that episode, and a lot of questions are now answered because we now know something about Arnold's actual parents. But after all of that, there were those who were still not convinced by this. Another theory to this is that Arnold's grandparents are actually his parents. It's believed that mental illness is the reason why Phil and Gertie never tell Arnold this reason, and they lie about these so-called parents being on a humanitarian mission to the jungle. The theory goes as far as giving Arnold a medical condition for his weird and oddly shaped head. According to this creepypasta quote, the grandparents are mentally unstable and told Arnold that his real parents, of normal age, died in a plane crash. That's not true at all, because Gertie and Phil were old when they made Arnold. He was born with a few conditions. One of them is hydrocephalus. That's the reason his head has such an odd shape. There's one type of hydrocephalus, the one Arnold suffers from. That's called Arnold-Chiari syndrome. That's the reason why the creators decided to call the boy Arnold. Now, to me, I can understand the mental stigma behind it all. The fact that you don't necessarily want to be telling the truth in this sort of scenario, because it might be hard for a child to wrap their head around the concept that their parents are in their late 60s by the looks of things. But with something like that, surely at some stage in Arnold's life, the truth would come out. I really couldn't imagine Phil and Gertie taking that secret to their grave. Also, I think it's quite hard to be a parent, especially at that age. To be honest, I think menopause would like to have a word with these two, especially Gertie. Looking though at what hydrocephalus is, this is when there is too much fluid going to the brain. The liquid that builds up isn't water, it's cerebrospinal fluid. It circulates through the brain, bringing important nutrients and flushing away waste products from tissues. Normally, is absorbed into the bloodstream. With hydrocephalus, there's an imbalance between how fast fluid is made and how quickly it's absorbed. The result is that it builds up. This can cause the head to enlarge and increase pressure around the brain. Without medical treatment, it can cause disability and it can lead to your death. There is a hydrocephalus called Arnold syndrome. Yeah, that is one hell of a mouthful to say the least. Although the Arnold part of this doesn't come up when I was researching, so it just said Chiari syndrome or malfunction syndrome. One of those two. It looks like the Arnold part did get taken out though. But this type of hydrocephalus, this is where the lower part of your brain affects your spinal cord. Again, in this situation, you would be needing medical attention. So from all of that is the reason for Arnold's oddly shaped head. But to give a character a medical condition that is very severe, not to forget that in the show itself, Arnold walks around perfectly fine. Like, there's nothing that suggests that there's something wrong with him. He probably gets a few insults about his head, but other than that, that's really about it. I just think that the writers of the show would not give a character something that is very, very severe, especially when people suggest that medical conditions are the reasons for oddly shaped heads or anything that's classed as wrong in their eyes about a character. So I'm not really a big believer in this theory much. However, speaking of whether this theory is real or not, or possibly real, in 2017 Arnold actually meets his real parents in the film Hey Arnold, a Jungle Movie. Yeah, I think this theory can be classed as bull. Imagine asking that question and then having to wait 13 years just to get some sort of clarification. But what do you think? Would you have believed this theory more if it wasn't for the fact that Arnold's parents appeared in a movie? Or do you think that the writers of the show purposely gave vague information about Arnold's parents so that in the hopes of one day making a film just to get that clarification? Let me know what you think about this theory. Anyway, that's where I'm going to be ending today's video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you soon with another video. Peace!